you've outdone yourself with this performance.
Yeah, I'm very proud. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime. I don't know if it's going to happen again, but it's probably the greatest challenge I've ever been set as an actor and as an artist, and I'm really gratified to feel very blessed to have been given the opportunity.
How did this part come to you? And then how did you embrace it? I know you got very method with this one.
Well, originally I didn't think I was right for the role. I couldn't really see myself. I thought I was really intimidated by the role. I don't really understand how you could convey mental illness, or, the physicality of the guy was so different from me. I knew nothing about chess. There were so many things to the equation that I thought, I don't know whether I don't know how to approach it. It was the director's suggestion to take a method acting approach, which again was even intimidating. I was like, I don't know how to do that stuff. I'm a working actor. I kind of like turn up, show me the lines, I hit the marks, and I'll be professional. But living in the character for months at a time, I was like, I didn't even know how that was possible. So the first part of the equation was I had to get an agreement from the director and the producer that I had to take the physicality off the table. I was not keen to put on all that weight for health reasons. And I just didn't want to focus on that. I wanted to really understand who the man was and not be concerned about the superficial aspects. The fact he had no teeth, that he was, massively huge. It's like, or his hairstyle or what he wore. I just wanted to understand how it was that he affected the people the way that he did, and how he helped people, how he overcame his obstacles in life. I thought the most important thing for the story was to somehow inspire and uplift people, and to show the love and compassion that he was able to convey through the way he lived his life.
I kept feeling hope from you on the screen. There was never a moment, no matter how manic or how crashed Jen may have been, there was never a moment I did not feel hope emanating from you on that screen.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And that was really what I wanted to focus on, was that. And how do you overcome those kind of obstacles? And the man was literally homeless. He lived under a bridge for 3 years, for years at a time. There was one time he got out of bed. He couldn't get out of bed. He suffered a bout of depression. He couldn't get out of bed for years. I was like, this man suffered. He suffered deeply in life. But we don't want to make a movie about suffering.
Right.
We wanted to make a movie about overcoming these obstacles in life. And a story about hope. And where does that come from? Trying to understand that. Where does that sense of hope come from when you've got nothing? He was completely impoverished. And really what it was is he found a sense of purpose in life. And his purpose was not to think about himself, but to think about others. And those kids saved him, Those kids that he helped, that he saved, they saved him. And in helping those children, he saved himself. He gave himself a purpose to give hope, to bring hope into their lives and to bring hope into his own life. And it was a really, I think it's a very beautiful, moving story. And it's a privilege to focus on this very tiny story, because I know for a fact, there are people all around the world and communities everywhere that are doing this kind of work. They're helping the old, they're helping the infirm, they're helping young children, the underprivileged. And they're doing so, they're not getting paid, they're not getting acknowledged. People aren't giving out awards to these people on a weekly basis. These people are doing it from a place of grace and from love. And they really do help so many people. And so the privilege for me in taking on the role is to focus on that. This one story, which is a metaphor for the many people that help others around the world.
Did it help you or inform you? Did you look at the documentary that had been made, Marbrook's documentary? And I know Noble and Jedi and then Jen's widow were on set during this. Did they help you? Did that help? Could you go to them, or did you go to them, or did you totally stay contained?
No, I couldn't have done the film without the support of Genesis' wife and his son, and the real noble and Jedi, who became my chess coaches. I was working in Hollywood. I actually brought a Jedi here with me because it was about this camaraderie and this sense of hope again. They are very gentle, kind people, unusually so, and selfless. There's not a selfish bone in their body, and that's not typical. That's very special to meet people like that. And through meeting them and having them in my life, it helped me understand Genesis and who he was, and how they was just such humble people. I think I couldn't have done it without them. The documentary was very helpful because I got to sort of get a glimpse into the man and to see the presence of the man. He was a physically imposing man. He was very, very powerful and strong, and so that helped. But he also had a very sharp intellect, and he had a high EQ, emotionally very intelligent man, and IQ. He was a mathematician, and he was a strategist. He was a very thoughtful man, and he was a philosopher. So that really helped me key into the complexities of who he was. So I wasn't like giving a broad brushstroke sort of picture of a man who was crazy, who helped some kids. It wasn't like that at all. He was a very complex and intricate being, but who had a very strong heart and a lot of love. I don't know. It was a combination of all of these elements that make the role and the character of Genesis so unique and special.
Now I know that James also shot much with a verite handheld kind of style. How does that impact your performance as opposed to when you walk on set and it's blocked out and here's a mark, hit the mark, instead of, because here he was explaining to me, he wanted it more verite where the camera is very fluid, going in a 360 at all times, able to catch the whole world that's happening. How does that impact you as an actor then?
It gives me huge freedom. There were some challenging scenes where we had to give some marks, but he'd asked me it was a very tough challenge he set himself and me, because neither of us had experience of doing the method where you stay in character. It's sort of a contradiction and then take direction from a director. It's kind of a weird game that you're playing. So we definitely had some challenges, but I think ultimately it gave me, as a performer, as an actor, a wonderful sense of spontaneity and freedom, and that I could, when we sort of so-called blocked the scenes, I had the freedom to move or to stand or to walk, and then he had to they had to sort of move the camera around that, which helps give a sense of immediacy to what you're doing, and that the instinct. This is where you combine the whole idea of method acting, where the instincts of the character are my instincts. And so I'm driving what the character is now me, and I'm now the character. So therefore then the camera has to follow those instincts. It has to understand, because I'm coming from a place of emotion and a place of being in state. And so therefore then I'm not really trying to capture the camera's trying to capture the character. It's kind of a do-si-do.
Yeah, it's a catch-22.
It's not easy.
That's very tricky.
It's really tricky.
So with that,
because there's limitations to it.
Well, obviously there was no limitation when you decided to kick out the windshield of a van.
It's not true. It's not true, because that was James just kept the camera rolling and asking for more and more and more and more, and I was like, more of what? I was like, there was nothing. I was like, okay, cool. I mean, what else is there to do? And then he didn't call cut. He left the camera rolling. So after I kicked out the windscreen from the car and started to destroy the car or the van, he still didn't call cut. It's like, where else is there to go? It's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, there is nowhere else to go. But this scene is really about Genesis is backed into a corner and he's got nowhere left to go. He's succeeded and he's failed both at the same time. In succeeding, he feels like a failure. And I think it's a very, very strong, powerful moment. So he thought that by succeeding, he would overcome something, but only to find that success has led to a failure. And so much like life, we think we want something, we want that car, or we want that job, or we want that man or woman in our lives, and then we get what we think we want. We want those children, we want them to get into that school. It's like all these things that we think we want for ourselves. And then when we get those things, it's like, hey, why am I not happy? Why is this not fulfilling this sense of, why have I got middle class Malay? It's like, a middle-aged Malay. Like, I'm successful, aren't I got the teaching job I always wanted. I'm a successful person. Where is the self-doubt coming from? And I think that scene really, the Genesis state of being is like, he might have succeeded in getting them to win a game of chess, but he lost he feels like he lost the battle to win this kid's freedom, to have a life. And what was more important? He thought that the game was going to give that freedom to that kid, and it didn't. It just took that kid right back into the, and it's like he was in an impossible situation. So the act of emotion really came out of that. It wasn't something that was scripted or dialogued. It was just like, I did everything that was scripted, and the director wanted more than what was scripted, and that's what came out of it. I know James from his first movie. It was called Boy, and I produced that movie. So we discovered him at, I think, 11 years old for his first movie. So I had that relationship with him. And then I was absolutely convinced when this movie came along that he was the right casting for that role. There was some discussion that maybe he was getting a little bit too old for it, but I thought he was astounding. So we got to play a lot of chess together. We got reunited, but he got to meet me not as Cliff but as Genesis, which was fun for me, a bit weird for him, I think. Yeah, we got to hang out a lot. We got to sort of connect and spend time together. And it was just a very organic, very natural relationship. I love that kid.
How much chess did you play before you took this role?
I had played some chess with my daughter as a 5-year-old, and that was about it. And so I didn't know my way around the board, really, to save myself. And now I'm obsessed. Some years later, I've yet to give up the game of chess. I play probably a couple of hours a day online if I can't find somebody to play with me.
Wow.
Or an hour to 2 hours a day.
So you're really happy that James is here today because
I'm really happy. See, I've got the board set up. I'm excited. It's about to be lunchtime. I'm going to get a real live human being, especially James. We have an ongoing challenge.
How much practice did you do with chess to prepare? Because you got a lot of chess playing that Genesis is doing in there.
Yeah. Well, I got like Noble and Genesis, Jedi. They were with me every day. I got another Grandmaster chess champion to be my coach as well. And then I just played all day, every day. And then if there was no one, I would keep those guys up until they fell asleep playing with me. And then I continued playing. But Genesis was primarily focused on speed chess or lightning chess, which is a different game, slightly different game. And so I played thousands of 1-minute games of chess online.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was great because it was like trying to understand you could go crazy trying to understand this game, really, which is good because that helped me get into a mental state where I could feel my brain breaking. I was like going, I got to get good at this game, otherwise I'm going to be a terrible Genesis.
No, never. I can't imagine anybody else ever assuming this role.
Thank you.
Now that you have done this, what did you learn about yourself in playing Genesis?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think the Genesis, and we started the conversation with Genesis and Jesus. To me, the roles go together.
They
because
really
Genesis
do.
was actually a Christian. We don't focus on it in the movie, but my career has largely been populated with bad guy roles. And it was this amazing gift to have these two roles back to back where they focused on love and compassion and hope and bringing people together and helping people, helping people that are suffering. I think it really helped me to refocus on that. Both Genesis and Jesus really helped me to reconnect with that sense of purpose in life. Because, I'm an actor, and so basically, you're a working actor, you look for roles, and you got to work, and you work, that's kind of how it goes. But I also produce, so it really helped me sort of get a sense of purpose about, I want to really focus on things that are helpful and that inspire and bring hope into the world, rather than division and confusion. So that's a challenge, but I think it's helped me.